Alright, I've done a few of these what ifs, mixing fighting game franchises up for a while now, but two franchises that I think possibly would blend well together are Mortal Kombat and Killer Instinct. With that being said, today I'm taking the hero of Killer Instinct, Black Orchid, and I'm placing her in the Mortal Kombat's original timeline. Okay, full disclosure, Orchid is one of my favorite female fighting game characters of all time. Her look, her moveset, even her backstory, which placed her as the main character of the Killer Instinct games. I think for a female that's a first for a major fighting game. She also may be low-key one of the wildest fighting game characters in history for a few reasons. Victory! Gameplay-wise, Killer Instinct may play closer to Street Fighter, but in terms of aura and feel, KI definitely felt closer to MK. Now, in trying to place Orchid in the MK's timeline, I didn't choose a specific game like I've previously done. Instead, I think it'd be easier to just assume Orchid would be playable in the entire 3D era of Mortal Kombat, possibly MK4 all the way through Armageddon. As a result, obviously this means she'd be killed off in Armageddon and would not need to return in the story, so in theory this entire thing could be plausible. Also, this time period is a bit of a gold mine for female characters in Mortal Kombat outside of the original trilogy. Adding Orchid to the likes of Tanya, Natara, Lee May, Ashura, Serena, Frost, and Kira would be perfect. But all that being said, we still need to figure out her backstory, which almost writes itself. Alright, we already know that Orchid has a military past and worked as a special agent of sorts. I don't believe her actual name is Orchid for the record, I think that's a code name. So obviously she would be tied to the special forces in Mortal Kombat, but with a twist. The Killer Instinct reboot, or KI3 as I like to call it, has Orchid as a rebel agent fighting against Ultra Tech, as opposed to Secret Spy or whatever the hell she was in the first two games. She was a lot more rebellious and a little wilder in that game. So keeping that in mind, I believe Orchid should be a former member of the Special Forces, which I'm not sure in all of MK if there are any people who broke away from SF. And the backstory that I have for Orchid has her leaving the Special Forces for the risk that they do not take, being proactive enough to protect Earthrealm from danger. This would possibly put her at risk with SF, as she would take all the risks to save the realms that they refuse to, and make her a cautionary ally to Raiden, who, while he probably likes the fact that she's willing to protect Earthrealm, doesn't necessarily like the means that she goes about doing it, easily seeing her as a risk. Maybe after defecting from Special Forces after the defeat of Shinnok, she learns about Quan Chi's movements escaping the Netherrealm before the death of Liu Kang even happens, but no one listens. She could also investigate Shujinko enough to know he's unknowingly aiding a dark force without knowing that it's Onaga, and it's after this point that she could actually become an ally of Raiden who trusts her after he becomes Dark Raiden, maybe understanding the by any means necessary attitude that she carries. To make this even more tragic, maybe her death could come at the hands of Raiden in MK Armageddon when the final battle takes place. Though I question making Raiden that dark, the story seems to fit kind of well. Who knows? Orchid still fighting against the Black Dragon like pretty much Special Forces always tends to do, or infiltrating them as a member when she breaks away could be interesting along the way as well. I feel like Orchid would just be a cool wrinkle in SF, which up to this point has just been, hey, it's the military. Also, Orchid working with the likes of Akenshi could be her MK equivalent of working with her younger brother Jago in Killer Instinct.
The fall of the Deadly Alliance did not end the turmoil of Outworld. While others celebrated victory, I uncovered signs of a greater evil stirring in the shadows. My pursuit of hidden cults and ancient prophecies led me to fragments of the Dragon King's return. Branded an outlaw by the Special Forces and hunted by outworld assassins, I fight alone to reveal the truth of the Dragon King's resurrection. May the person responsible pay for their ignorance.
Before I continue, like the video, it helps. Now for Orchid's look. It's interesting. Orchid had a unique, kind of futuristic look in the first Killer Instinct, outside of the giant letters on her clothes that just said hot for some reason. The iconic green and gold look with the gold headband and gold sabers were awesome. Her second costume in Killer Instinct 2 was a lot, to say the least. The bodysuit that became a onesie and left absolutely nothing to the imagination, especially when you think about how much splits were a part of her moveset, by the way. I will say I prefer the tonfas that she had in KI2 over the sabers in the first one. Then we got her 2013 look. Not bad, but I wasn't as sold on this one as I was the previous two. She looked more archaeologist than secret agent to me. They tried to evolve her original bodysuit look, but personally I think I'm too stuck on nostalgia to like it as much, I guess. It just wasn't the same to me. When you put all three looks side by side, her 2013 look seems like a whole other person, but that's also the idea and I understand. And I'm kinda going to repeat the same thing here. For this MK design, I wanted hints of all three of them present. Obviously the green and gold color scheme. I wanted to keep her tonfas from Killer Instinct 2, and the serious feel of her 2013 designs should all be here in my opinion. The important thing is, while I still want her to be a beautiful woman, I want her to look like she knows her stuff as a former Special Forces agent. I want her to have a look of an attractive woman that almost makes you double take and go, hey, what the hell have you been through? I wanted her bodysuit to show cleavage, of course, it's still Orchid, but I also wanted to add a black jacket over top of her with a gold zipper. I think plenty of gold accents along with bringing back her gold headband would be cool. I hated those goggles. I gave her scars on her face to almost show what she may have been going through since leaving Special Forces. To be honest, I ended up with something that's kind of almost a cooler, bizarro Sonya Blade from the 3D era, which is not bad and story-wise fits like a glove. Ultimately, this is the look of Mortal Kombat Orchid as opposed to the Orchid in the original Killer Instinct. Now her moveset. I don't think too much should change here from her Killer Instinct counterpart. I gave her gun holsters in her design when I drew it because I figured that she could have some shots to fire at her opponent, almost like Nina in Tekken 8. I would switch her Cougar from attacking the opponent to travel use. Sounds crazy, I'll explain. Instead of actually attacking the opponent like it normally did, at least for combos when she would either transform or throw it at you, it would teleport the opponent upon contact if they're not blocking and launch them from high above on the opposite side of the screen, almost giving Orchid a free hit or a combo setup. Maybe she might have sort of a grappling hook that functions like Scorpion Spear as well, who knows. I think for her fighting style, I give her something like a boxing or military style combat, maybe even something closer to MMA, even though that wasn't as big a thing in the year 2002, but that was nearing the rise in popularity of MMA, so that's not too far off. And I'd also find a fighting style that would allow her split kicks from Killer Instinct 2 to be used as a normal and not a special move. Pretty OP, I know, but it was the 3D era. The moves was wild in the regular moveset. I would also have tonfas to be her weapon style, which would also be a Jax tie-in, since he did have tonfas in, I believe, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. For her fatals, do the obvious. Allow her Cougar to just eat her opponent, maybe cooking them at the same time as they're doing it, since the Cougar is on fire essentially. For her second fatal, for Mortal Kombat Deception, I'd have her bludgeon her opponent with the tonfas and maybe use the special powers from them to burn away any of the remains of the opponent. This was the era of the violent but also simple and to the point fatalities, not the cinematic ones that we get today, so I have to keep that in mind. Overall, her moveset would be a little wild for the 3D era, but that's how it should be. And we get to play What If, right? Overall, Orchid in a Mortal Kombat game just fits perfectly. She blends so well with the rest of the female cast of those games, and even with characters such as Kenshi, or against the Jacks or the Shaolin monks. Hell, I'd love to see Orchid against Sector, who I think may easily be her full gore equivalent. Let me know whether or not you would actually play with this version of Orchid in an MK game or not, and how close does this stick to the original KI character. Also, speaking of KI, I got a wild request for full gore that I may revisit down the line as well. Feel free to drop any crossover ideas you have in the comments. But in any event, like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and you all have a good one, and I'm out.